how to make an advanced glove puppet.
To the puppet nerds of the world, this may sound absurd, but this is the place you need to be. We'll do an interview and then we'll stitch and glue all of the dolls, we'll make it shake. If you wanna be in the know and to play like a pro, subscribe to Puppet Nerd.
Welcome back, Puppet Nerds. Adam Krutinger here, and today we're going to be making a small hand puppet. Now, this is the simple style of puppet, kind of like Punch and Judy. And Mr. Rogers also used a lot of puppets like this too. Now, the subject matter for this hand puppet is not something I would have necessarily chosen myself. A local theater is putting on a play, and they requested to have a puppet of Richard Nixon. I love getting involved with local projects, especially theater companies, so I said yes. So, let's get started. To get started, I'm going to build up a block of foam. I don't have a block of foam on hand, so I'm going to use this 2-inch foam that I have and stack it up and glue the layers together to make one big block. Make sure to do this in a well-ventilated area, or use a respirator. Now that I have a block of foam, I'm going to start sketching out the shape of the head. Once I know the shape that I want, I'm going to use a saw to get the rough shape into the form of the foam. Now that I have the profile cut out, I'm going to quickly draw out a front view and rough cut that as well. Now that I have the rough shape, I'm going to start smoothing it out a little bit with a razor blade, and also carving in some small details. Since I wanted this to have a really long nose, it wasn't practical to carve it, so I'm going to do this as an additive piece. So now I'm gluing on a piece of foam that I'm going to carve into a nose. But I didn't really like how it was coming out, so I chopped it off and I'm going to start a new nose. This time I'm going to carve it as a separate piece and then glue it on. Here I noticed the chin was a little bit too small, so I'm adding another little piece of foam to build it up a little bit. Then I do the same thing with the forehead, and then a little later on with the ears as well. Now that I have the basic shape, I'm going to start sanding it out. This smooths out all the edges and gets rid of most of the cut marks. Now that the pieces are all smoothed out, I'm going to finally attach the nose. Next, I lightly hit the whole sculpture with a torch. This gets rid of all those little hairy-like fibers on it and also seals the foam. If you do this, make sure to be very careful and have a light touch. If you hold it too long, you'll completely burn your puppet and it can be dangerous. After that, I'm giving this a quick coat of creature cast rubber. This is going to make it very strong and last a long time. I gave mine about 5 coats of creature cast, and I slightly tinted it each time so I could see that I had full coverage in each layer. And in the final layer, I did a flesh tone that matched the look I was going for. And after I got this far, I realized that I accidentally forgot to put the ears on. So I glued the ears on and then gave the whole thing a couple more coats of creature cast. And after that was all dry, I decided to start making the eyes. I found these little wooden beads that were like just about the perfect shape and just did a little bit of light sanding to fit them in. And after the eyes were painted, I glued them in. And next I make the pattern for the fabric body of these puppets. If you want to download the free template, there's a link down in the description. Or you can get it at puppetnerd.com. And I also released a video last week on how to make a much more simple glove puppet. Here I'm hollowing out the head, just enough room for my 2 fingers to fit so I can attach it to the glove body. You could use pretty much any glue to attach this. In this case, I'm using contact cement. If you use contact cement, make sure you are in a well-ventilated area and have a respirator. Next, I wanted to make some simple hands to attach. I just used scraps of L200 and carved out the little hand shapes and glued them on. For the pupils, I decided to keep it simple and just used a Sharpie. And next I used some different color paints to add some details. For the clothing, I wanted it to have a real authentic look, so I got some secondhand clothes at a thrift shop and started cutting them up to create his suit. Now it's time for his hair, so I grabbed this long pile of fur that I have that looked like a good color, and then I start using techniques for doing a fur transfer. And for this, what you do is you put tape on one side of the fur to hold it all together, then you carefully snip off the backing and apply glue to the bottom edge. This allows me to take it into little pieces and put it onto the puppet. And once the head is covered, I can start styling the hair. Click the link right above if you want to learn techniques on how to style puppet hair. I did a completely separate video on it. So there he is. Now, I really enjoyed making this puppet. If you want to learn more about how to make hand puppets, let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see, and maybe we'll do a step-by-step tutorial on how to make your own too. And again, I'm really falling in love with this style, so don't be surprised if it's something you see more of on the channel. And you might notice this guy over here too. This is J. Edgar Hoover. They actually needed 2 puppets for it, but the process was exactly the same. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this build. If you enjoy puppetry and want to learn more, be sure to check out puppetnerd.com. On this channel, we have hundreds of videos on puppetry. You can learn how to make your own puppets, learn how to perform puppets, and we even have a podcast called Puppeteers where we interview the world's most passionate puppeteers. Thanks so much for your support, and we'll see you next time.